Okay, my name is Briant Sikorski. I am a wealth advisor with Stratos Wealth Partners. Stratos Wealth Partners is a registered investment advisory firm that helps people make intelligent and researched decisions with their money. Myself, I am a wealth advisor, an independent wealth advisor. And what that means is that I am independent and agnostic when it comes to investment choices. I am not working for a company or a wirehouse or a bank, and therefore I can provide you with complete, independent, objective advice. You might ask yourself, well, Brian, you're a man. Why are you giving a presentation on financial well-being for women? I guess it goes back to when I was a teenager. My father passed away rather unexpectedly in just a few days after a very acute illness. I was 18 years of age and had started college a year early and really didn't know anything about money. My dad passed away. I still had a younger brother and two younger sisters. And I saw what myself and my mother had to go through in order to survive. I subsequently had to suspend my college studies for a bit and work part-time, if you will, and subsequently took a full-time job in a completely different field. I was studying biology, biochemistry, and I ended up working at General Motors for about 10 years after that, due in part because of the benefits it provided my mother, my brother, and my two sisters. So I guess while I am not a woman, I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. I personally, have experienced what happens to women by virtue of my mother when things are not planned ahead. So with that in mind, let's take a look at our agenda here, and we're looking at, I guess we start off with what are some of the good things that are happening to women these days. We're going to talk a little bit about, despite many of those advancements, women still face some very unique and some would say daunting financial challenges. I'll get a little Susie Orman here and ask you about your money beliefs, or maybe Dave Ramsey, I guess. I think another really key important piece is, again, if a woman is raising children, how to help raise those children financially fit, or unfortunately, how to deal with those children if they find themselves a single mother for whatever reason, not only due to death, like in my case of my father, but perhaps due to divorce or separation. Then we'll chat just briefly about what a financial advisor role an advisor can play in helping a woman, and then we'll address any questions. There should be at the bottom of your screen or to the lower right a little chat box. If you have any questions, just type that in, and then we will attempt to address them and answer them for you. So on a good note, we see that women are becoming an increasingly important economic force. And I think you'll see changes going on, and we've seen it already, in marketing campaigns from corporations, from recruiting campaigns for women in colleges. Women today represent over half of all PhDs, nearly, looks like, over two-thirds of all college graduates, and more than 70% of all 2012 valedictorians. Between 1970 and 2009, women went from holding a little over a third of all the jobs to nearly one-half. As of 2013, there were over 8.5 million women-owned businesses in the United States, generating over $1.3 trillion in revenue and employing nearly 8 million people. And I think that's a pretty profound set of accomplishments if we think about the fact that it was only in 1920 that women even achieved the right to vote. So, we think about relatively brief period of time how significantly women have advanced in today's society. I had some other notes here that in 2011, 75% of all women identified themselves as the primary shoppers for their household. And I would say that's probably true in most cases, and that applies to everything from clothing for themselves, for the kids, groceries, so it's not uncommon at all. Women are controlling an increasing large amount of wealth. And we see a little insert here with Time magazine and their cover page, the richer sex. Globally, women control $20 trillion in investment dollars and are 9% of the world's billionaires. However, as we'll see in a minute, since women typically live longer than men, they are posed to inherit 70% of the $41 trillion in intergenerational wealth transfer that's expected to occur over the next 40 years. And that's both from, husbands passing away as well as parents passing away. With women living longer, it is not uncommon for a parent to pass money on to a female child because perhaps the male child has already passed away. 45%, so nearly half of all American millionaires are women, and by 2030, it's projected that roughly 2/3 of the nation's wealth will be in the hands of females. And today, 40% of working women out-earn their husbands. And again, it wasn't too long ago that that was all but perceived as an impossibility, but it's become a reality today, partly, as we saw in the previous section, due to women becoming valedictorians or holding the majority of valedictorians. I don't think this is any big surprise, and I hate to generalize, if you will, but I think what this slide is sharing with us is that oftentimes women will seek more than just financial returns. They'll want to know and trust their consultants, and that's not only in the financial world. That relates to taxes, or as it relates to shopping or any other service that they might avail themselves to. I will have to admit, when I make a selection myself to have any kind of work done, I have a tendency to base it on, well, where is it located? Is it convenient? Do the prices seem reasonable? Whereas my wife would die if I forced her to do that, because for her, it's all about the experience. She'll research and look up Yelp, reviews and consumer reports and word of mouth. And I have to admit, I very rarely do that. I'll go look at, well, who's a Chamber of Commerce member, and I'm pretty happy with that. So women, by and large, will value meeting the people who will be doing their work. They want to be, without a doubt, treated with dignity and respect, and want to be informed and educated in the process, and want to have access to financial products that satisfy their sense of purpose and mission. And that's something we're going to dwell on in just a few minutes. I will share with you that as a financial advisor, I try to do some things to go a little bit above and beyond and to separate myself. And one of the things I have done is I have gone with several single women clients of mine to help them purchase a car. For whatever reason they would prefer a root canal, than going to a car dealership. So to kind of help them out, I went with them, and I didn't really kind of say who I was, and the car dealer could infer that I was a brother or a husband or just a nosy neighbor, but it was profound, even in this day and age, the difference in the atmosphere when there was the two of us, and maybe it could have been two of anybody, but it just seemed to be a lot different when I was sitting there with them. So we still have some work to do. Now, with that, women also have a unique set of financial, well, not only financial challenges, but just challenges per se. The wage gap does exist. Now, I would say some of that is, and I've had firsthand experience, I've seen where women will get offered less money for very comparable work. On the other hand, another component of this is that women will spend fewer years in the workforce. They will be the one that's expected to take care of a sick child. My wife and I actually have role reversal there because I do work out of a home office many times, and my wife is in a particular office. So, but nonetheless, because women are the caregivers for both children and elderly or ill parents, because they will typically take time out for the teacher meetings and school orientation, because they will sometimes take years off to raise children, that measurably reduces the amount of Social Security they may be eligible for, how much 401k they goes in or contributions into their plan, and how much wages they can demand in the marketplace. No big surprise, we've all heard that 1 out of 2 marriages end in divorce, so it is not uncommon for women to unexpectedly find themselves, as we see here, suddenly single, and unfortunately not just once, but maybe twice in their lifetime. They are thrust in the role as an earner and a caregiver, and again, a little bit unlike men, they really want to know if they have enough saved. I will tell you from personal experience that not always, but many cases, if I ask a man what money means to them, in some way, shape, or words, I will get often a reply that reflects accomplishment or achievement or how big is my pile of money. Whereas, again, not in all cases, but from a general perspective, I will often hear from women the word security or independence or freedom to do what they want, how they do it, the ability to travel, the ability to be cared for. I just recently sent out a questionnaire survey and had people send it back, and then if they replied, they got a little book that I have on Social Security. And again, just in this small sampling of maybe 30 or 40 replies that I had, I asked them to check box, what issues are they most concerned about in retirement. And again, just from this very small, statistically improbable example, there was a large number of women who checked the box fear of running out of money or outliving their money, whereas men would have a tendency to see check marks like taxes, what to do about taxes in retirement. So yes, men and women think differently about investing as well as a whole lot of other things. 1 in 4 men report feeling confident about reaching their retirement goals, whereas only 19% of women do. 1 in 3 men say they've, mathematically figured out how much money they'll need in retirement, while just 20% of women have. and women are less confident in their own ability to make financial decisions. We can see here on the right-hand side the percentage of men versus women who feel very knowledgeable or confident or trust themselves, are confident and are willing to make decisions, investment decisions on their own. And as we mentioned earlier, the investment decision making by men is typically themselves. The women will typically work in some aspect of a collaborative effort, either with a spouse, with a family member, with a friend. Here we reflect again upon the wage gap. And now this first statistics, it was kind of interesting. I did look this up, and I did look up all of these to read what's behind them. And the reason I elaborated a tiny bit before was because how this number that says that women are paid just 77% of what men are paid is actually calculated by taking essentially all the wages in the United States and dividing it proportionally by the number of men and women. So again, a number of the women in this sample could very well be women who re-entered the workforce and therefore are coming in at a lower wage, or no big surprise, for either personal or egalitarian reasons, will sometimes take positions that are lesser paid in the nonprofit, in the world, in museums, in libraries, as school teachers. So those are also factors that contribute to their lessened wages. As I mentioned earlier, this income disparity can have very big influence on their retirement savings. After 30 years, this could mean a 25 to 30% shortfall compared to a male worker. And to make matters worse, again, this is not uncommon of women re-entering the workforce in their 40s, and here they should be at, in many cases, peak earnings years where they can save more for their retirement, and instead they're, in some respects, either starting over or re-entering the workforce. Or out of necessity, I've met a number of women recently who have completely changed careers or can change industries because the industry they worked in 15 or 20 years ago that they left to care for their children either doesn't exist today or is so markedly different than what they were doing before, they found it impossible to re-enter that industry. On an average, women outlive men by 5 to 7 years. This number just boggled my mind. 700,000 women lose their husbands each year and will be widows for 14 years. The average age for a woman to be widowed in the U.S. is 55, and that really shocked me too. I thought it was going to be like 75. But if I look at my mother's case, my dad died at 49. My mom was 45. She remarried, I want to say about 2 years later, I'm sorry, and was remarried for 3 years, and then he passed away. And after that, she gave up until her death. So she was widowed at 45, remarried at about 47, married until 51, and then was a widow until her mid-80s when she passed away. This was also a very interesting statistic that 70% of all women, quote unquote, fire their financial advisor within 1 year of being widowed. And I thought, why in the world is that? Well, again, when I read this footnote and looked through it, many women that were interviewed said they made the change, and I think some of them are expected because maybe a family member or a child had a different advisor and they wanted mom to move their money to that advisor. But the other reason was back to our car dealership example, is many women, when confronted with investing alone, felt that over the years the advisor catered predominantly to the husband, and oftentimes did not even include her in important investment decisions, which is tragic, I would say. 90% of all women will be solely responsible for their finances at some point in their lives. The dual role of caregiver and wage earner, caring for the sandwich generation. Women, therefore, have a tendency to be especially concerned about catastrophic health events and the impact it might have on their families. And I would say that that's why, in some respects, men can get away with it, I guess, of doing some of their self-investing because they have more margin for error. They can recover from it, if you want to call it an error, whereas women may not. They may not have the 10, 15, 20 years that men have while the woman is out raising children or taking care of an elderly parent to recover. If the woman experiences that kind of a loss, they'll never catch up again. According to the Department of Labor, just 45% of working women participate in a company retirement plan. Oh, that drives me crazy because I personally have seen instances where I've asked a woman if she's participated in her retirement plan at work, and she says, "Oh no, you know, we are participating in my husband's plan, so all our money is going to his plan." Well, with one out of two marriages ending in divorce, I don't know about you, but if I were a woman, I would, you know, and we're putting $200 a month, I want 100 going to mine and 100 going to his. I know when we get married, we all expect it to last forever, but it doesn't always happen. So I strongly encourage women to, in that scenario, fine and dandy, put, you know, whatever percentage you want into the husband's plan, but let's populate your plan as well. Given the wage gap, lifespan, inflation, and some of the markets that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years, many women are concerned about how they can go about determining how much money they need to save for retirement. And because of their association with their caregiver status, as the next bullet says, they will typically worry more about meeting health care costs in retirement than men, and no big surprise, women are more eager to travel and to be involved in philanthropic work, whereas we guys just like to sit on the front porch and tell the kids to get off our lawn, I know. So I guess if I was a woman, I would ask myself, you know, are you concerned about running out of money, and do you feel that you need a true plan, in some cases even more than perhaps your husband does? I know this is very, you know, reflective of what we were talking about here. Is ask yourself, you know, do you feel comfortable talking about money? Are you comfortable making financial decisions, your family's future, your 401k, retirement account? My wife works at a university here nearby, and she got her 2013, you know, benefits and retirement packet. She handed it to me and said, "Here, you're the financial advisor." And I said, "No, first you're going to read through that and tell me what you think. And, you know, I'll give you my 2 cents worth, but, you know, golly gosh, I mean, that's your plan and that's what you're working for, and I want you to be involved in it." You know, as a woman, could you buy a car or a house on your own? Do you set financial goals and work towards them? Do you believe that it takes money to make money? And I think what that really means is, you know, do you feel that you have to be wealthy to really invest, as opposed to can you start out in many cases small but work your way up? Is your current lifestyle making it hard to save, as Dave Ramsey would say? And this is really very interesting. What messages did your family give you about money when you were growing up? And I have several women clients who have inherited money from their parents, and ironically, this one's a little twist because 2 out of 3 of them, in their parents' case, mom died before dad, So as they say it, they've invested with me daddy's money. So even today, maybe almost 10 years later, they've been holding these investment accounts. For whatever reason, they still refer to it as daddy's money, and I think that's very interesting. These accounts are based on investment decisions that dad made for maybe a number of years, and even when it's maybe a very appropriate time to sell or liquidate one of these investments, I will find that women are reluctant to do so. Well, daddy bought that, or daddy, bought that stock 25 years ago, and it's just kind of it's a head and heart kind of decision at the same time. How does money impact your children? So the sooner you talk about money with your children, the better. Managing a budget is an important skill for children to develop. My lovely daughter, who's a sophomore in a local college here, is going through this rude awakening known as a budget program. This is something my wife and I did years ago, is instead of toys and gifts, ask relatives to consider buying shares of stock or making a donation to a charity in your child's name. Well, if it were me, I would probably say buying shares of stock or contributing to their college savings plan. When is the right age to leave your child an inheritance? Well, obviously not this young lady over here, but there's a footnote here about a good read, Raising Financially Fit Kids, and another one, The Giving Family. So how can a financial advisor help? Well, I think about anybody that we think of who is successful, perhaps in their industry or their sport or their profession. So if you think about, golfers have swing coaches, short game coaches, strength coaches, psychology coaches. If we look at football, we have offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, quarterback coaches. Baseball has the head coach, the first base coach, the third base coach, the batting coach, the pitching coach, the bench coach, whatever that is. I'm not a big baseball fan, sorry. But I know I'm a hockey fan. So in hockey, there's the head coach, there's a goalie coach, there's a power play coach. So sorry to beat a dead horse there, but a financial advisor can help, and who takes the time to get to know you, can develop that plan to help you manage your path to retirement. We have some specific tools that can help you determine what you own today, what steps you need to make in order to maximize your returns and manage risk appropriately, evaluate what you could be doing differently from both a financial as well as a tax point of view. I've got a whole number of stories I reflect back on of people who, read a magazine or saw a TV show or article and said, oh, that I got to do that. And the problem with, most of those shows and articles, in my humble opinion, are really designed to entertain more than educate, number one. And number two is I can't imagine how any announcer can provide a recommendation that is unique to you and the other 7 million people that are watching the show. We can help you determine what type and how much insurance you need, develop an educational strategy for children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, and help you better enable to plan for unexpected life situations. Again, divorce, death, incapacity, nursing home care. So if you have any questions, let's pop them in the little chat box here for the moment. You can start entering those while I switch over to one more page here that I think will be of interest to you. You saw in this presentation at the very bottom, it has this little symbol that says Women in Wealth, sponsored by Pax World Management. Well, we probably have all heard of a number of different investment companies like Fidelity or Vanguard or whatever, but Pax World is a little bit unique in that not only do they look to invest money in such a fashion as to make you money, and I've got an example here of their Pax Elevate Global Women's Index Fund. So, but I think this is key, is if we read this first bullet, is it invests in the highest rated companies in the world in advancing women's leadership through gender diversity on boards, executive management, and it invests in stocks, both U.S. and foreign, some exchange-traded funds, some cash and equivalents. But if we look at the bottom here, we see that it invests in companies who have been evaluated to ensure that they have equal, if not overage, representation of women on the boards of directors, representation at the levels of executive management, perhaps have a woman as a chief financial officer or chief executive officer, and is their company a signatory to the Women's Empowerment Principles program that is through the United Nations. So just, kind of key here is if you're a woman who says, gosh, I very much want to make money, but I also want to, as they say, vote with my dollars or vote with my feet. I've heard both. This would be a way to do that. If we look at the top 10 companies in which it's invested, it's in Microsoft, Lockheed, PepsiCo, Toronto Dominion Bank, Aetna, Fortum, P&G, KeyCorp, Estee Lauder, and GE. And again, all these companies have been recognized as being trailblazers in the area of women's leadership and women's advancement. So this would just be, again, I wanted to cover this because Pax World was nice enough to put this presentation together for me, number one, and for the other advisors at LPL. But number two is I think this is a time, this is an idea whose, as they say, time has come. So if this is something that would be of interest to you, Pax World has other funds as well, but I think this one really exemplifies the way to both make money and at the same time vote with your heart as well. So you can invest both with your head and your heart. So with that, I don't see that I have any questions at the moment. I'll say thank you very much for your time and your consideration. I am recording this, and I will tomorrow. I have one question pop in here real quick. I was just going to say I'm going to record this, and I will upload it most likely tomorrow to my YouTube channel. And so if you want to watch this again, you can go over to BriantSikorski.com. Click on my YouTube icon, and it'll take you right over there. You can watch this again or share it with a friend. So the question is, are there other high-performing socially responsible funds? And the answer is yes. There is a whole slew of them. Well, although they're not really that well known, and I find that a little bit surprising. But just yesterday, I met with a law firm that deals with a lot of different types of people. And so, yes, there are other socially responsible funds. Some examples would include one called the Timothy Plan. The Timothy Plan has a series of mutual funds that invest according to or with consideration to biblical principles. Ave Maria has a series of funds, including in maybe their flagship fund, the Catholic Fund. that only invest with consideration to Catholic doctrine. So they won't invest in embryonic stem cell research or companies that are involved in abortion. There's another company called Calvert, and Calvert has a pretty broad range of different funds, and actually have 3 different types of, for lack of a better word, screening process. But they are maybe a go-to for those who are very sensitive to the environment. I know they have a global alternative energy fund, an alternative energy fund, and a global water fund. So there's about a half dozen there that I just thought of off the top of my head. But yes, there are other ones that are out there besides PAX World. I think PAX World is probably the head and shoulders go-to, particularly with their Global Women's Index Fund, if your predominant considerations for women's the advancement of women leadership. I do have clients who care about this, and then what I have done is I've put portfolios together for them where maybe we've taken an aggressive growth fund with Calvert and a growth and income fund with Ariel and a growth fund with Domini and an income fund from PAX World or whatever. So there have been times where we've put money into one fund, and there's other times when we've put it into, maybe a 6 or 8 or 10 different funds, kind of depending upon the unique needs of the client. So sorry for the long answer to a short question, but yes, they're out there. They're sometimes lumped under SRI, socially responsible funds. They're also called ESG, which I think stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, or ESG fund consideration. So with that, thank you very much. If I can be of any other service to you, please feel free to give me a call or jump on my website and send me a note or an email. I'd be happy to help you out. So thank you very much for your time, and have a great evening.